Alright, welcome back. In our last video, we created the level. It crashed on us and I had to rebuild the level. That part did not make it into the recording, so you don't get to see that. You get to see the crash, you don't get to see the rebuilding. And then we finished out the level. Okay, adding a few little designs here. What we're going to do next, though, is we're going to create the player. That way we can have him in here already. First things first, though, we need to talk about some thing called collisions. Most of you guys have played Call of Duty or Fortnite or something like that and probably heard it called a hitbox. Okay, there's still collisions, but those are just used to determine whether a player gets hit or an enemy gets hit or what have you. But the actual terms are collisions, and collisions is what we added to the foreground elements. If we click on foreground and we come over here to physics layers, there's collision layer and there's collision mask. In Godot, it sorts it out through these two. Okay, collision layer affects the object itself. So in this case, collision layer is set to 1, which means these ground tiles are set on collision layer 1. For the purposes of this game, we're going to turn off 1 and we're going to turn on collision 2. So now we set the ground to collision layer 2. Collision mask is what the object, in this case the ground, is going to be able to interact with. The ground will interact with collision layer 1, which we'll name to be the player, and collision layer 3, which will be our enemies. Over here on the right are two sets of dots. They both do the same thing. So let's just click on one of them and choose edit layer names. In this window, what you're going to see are the 2D physics layer names. On layer 1, go ahead and type in the word player. Layer 2, you're going to type in ground. Layer 3, you're going to type in enemy. No, we'll make it plural because we're going to have more than one. Enemies. And layer 4, for now, we'll type in items. We might add more layers as time goes on, but for now, this is enough to get us going. Alright, from here, what you're going to do is let's save it. So press Control S to save, or come up here to scene, save scene. Okay, from there, what we can do is we can create a new scene. We can do this one of two ways, or three ways rather. We can just press this little plus sign to create a new scene. We can go to the scene menu up at the top and choose new scene, or we can press Control N. For now, let's just go ahead and press the plus sign. We need to create a new root node. For our player, we're going to use the character body root node. So let's go ahead and press other node down here, and we're going to go ahead and type in character body 2D. As you can see, as we typed in as we finished character body 2D was already highlighted, but I want you to get used to the terms that you're looking for. So character body 2D, and you'll see that you'll have the right one because it says character body 2D. It also has a little picture of a character running. Press create, and it'll set up right there. So we know this is going to be the player. So let's go ahead and right click on it and rename it real quick and name it player. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here into the inspector. We'll set up our collisions. So come over to the collision object 2D component. Click on collision. We know that the player is going to be on layer 1. We don't want the player to interact with itself, so we're going to turn off the mask layer 1, but we are going to turn on layer 2 for the ground, layer 3 for the enemies, and layer 4 for the items. Now back over here in your scene tree, let's just add a new node. I'm pressing Control A. You can use whichever one you want out of the three versions that I showed you in the last video. We're gonna type in animated sprite 2D because that's what we want, animated sprite 2D, and you'll see that it pops up right here already highlighted. Just press create and we'll add that there. Over here on the right in the inspector window under animated sprite 2D component, we want to click on animation. We want to find the sprite frames option, click empty. There we go. I don't know why it didn't pop up the first time, but there it is. Click on new sprite frames, then click on sprite frames again. You'll know you've done it right because you'll see this resource button pop up or drop down pop up. Let's look at the bottom third of our window here. We have animations, which are the types of animations housed here, and then we have frames. All we're going to focus on right now are the frames. Okay, we're going to name let's go ahead and change this name by clicking on the word default, and we're going to name it to idle because that's what our animation is going to be. It's going to be our idle animation. From here, what we are going to do is find our character that we're going to use. Now in the classes, during the live demos I've been showing you guys, we've used different characters depending on the class you're in. I'm just going to use stick with the fire imp for the videos, and you can see if you open up characters, players, and then fire imp, there's a whole bunch of animation folders. We want this one here, the idle, and we're going to click on sprites. Let's just go ahead and drag these out. So you can drag out one at a time, or you can select all of them by holding shift down and clicking on the first one, holding shift down, clicking on the bottom one, and then dragging them in. All will work. And if we zoom in on our little player, we can press play and see how that looks. And so now it's playing. Alright, because we want it playing when the scene starts, let's go ahead and down here in our tools, let's click on this one over here. So we have our play button that we clicked on to start it. If we look to the left, we're going to see our frames per second, which we can adjust to make it go faster or slower. Higher numbers make it go faster, lower numbers make it go slower. Alright, I'm going to leave it at 6. Well, 5 is where the default is. I'm going to put it up to 6. But to the left of that, a couple spaces, is this one. This little arrow pointing to the right with an A in it. It stands for auto, or it means autoplay on load. Let's press that. That means when the scene starts and our player's in it, he will already be doing this idle animation, which is what we want. From here, let's go ahead and click back on the player node. Let's right click, add a new child node, and this time we're going to look for a collision shape 2D, and press create. From here, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to click over here in our collision shape 2D node on the right under the inspector. We're going to choose the word empty, the drop down there next to shape, and for this, let's go ahead and choose a capsule. Now you see the capsule kind of puts it directly at the point of origin, which normally would be fine, except our player, his point of origin was here was also there, but it's lower, right? The character's lower than it. So we need to drag it down. So go ahead and press W on your keyboard, or you can press up here in our editor window. There's a little toolbar. You have our select tool and our move tool, which is what we want. So you can select that or press W on your keyboard. And if you zoom in, you're going to see some arrows. A red arrow pointing right, which will allow you to move this left and right, or a green arrow pointing down, which will allow you to move it up and down. We want to move it down, something about like that. That way it's right above the character's feet. And if you notice, all these yellow triangles are now gone. Okay, the last one that was hanging up on the player one was this collision shape. So something we haven't done, and so that in case it crashes, let's go ahead and save our scene. Go to scene in the menu bar, save scene as, open up your assets folder, open up your scenes folder, and since this is the player and we've already renamed it, it already gave you the name for the scene. So just press save. Alright. Now this guy's a little bit on the blurry side, so let's fix that. Up here in our menu bar on the top left, let's click on project. Then we're going to click on project settings. Okay, as you can see, our last settings that we were in was the 2D physics layers, which is fine, but that's not what we need now. Let's scroll up. We're going to go to the render settings, click on textures. From here, what we're going to do is where it says default texture filter, we're going to click on linear and choose nearest. Alright, if I move this over, now you see that it's cleared up. I'll show you again. So here it's a little bit blurry, okay, and then here we're going to click on nearest. I'm not a pixel artist, so I'm not 100% sure on how this works, but basically a rundown is that nearest, it finds, I believe it finds its nearest neighbor, its nearest pixel neighbor, and it gets its data from that, and that's kind of like clears it up. If there's anybody not in my class that's a pixel artist and you want to throw in the comments how that actually works in case I'm wrong, then feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, let's go ahead and press close for now. Alright, go ahead and click on player. The reason why we use character body 2D is we can add or attach a new script by looking up here for the scroll with the plus sign. But after we attach the node script here, if you look, it already has a template for basic movement. We're going to use that template. We'll modify it in a later video, but we're going to use this template for now, and we're going to go ahead and just press create. Actually, we're not going to press create. Scratch that. We are going to come up here to path, because I just noticed it's trying to save it in our scenes folder. This isn't a scene, it's a script. So let's click on the folder here. We can press on this up arrow next to the word path at the top and go back one folder, and we'll look for our scripts folder, to double click on it and open it, and we're going to change the name to player controller. And then we're going to press open, and now you can see it's changed the path to the assets scripts folder, and then we change the name to player controller because it's good to name your scripts based on what they're going to do. Let's go ahead and press create though. You're going to see here that there is it's already filled in some code for you and so we can do that and just mess around with the character for right now to get him imported and show you that he moves and jumps. We're going to be changing a few things in the inputs and stuff here shortly, if not this video, probably in a later video when we start adjusting the player script. But for now, this will work. What we're going to do though is go ahead and go to scene, save scene. Let's click back on our level 1 tab here. Now you'll see when we clicked on level 1, we don't see our scene, we still see the code. So up here in the top center, press 2D and you'll see your level there. In our scene tree, go ahead and click on node 2D to show the whole thing, because we're going to add our player in. We want it to be a child of the root node, not of any of the tile elements. So up above the N in node, there is this little instantiate child scene. You can click that or press Control Shift A, and we want to add our player. So click on player, then press open. You'll see that our player appears in the origin. So let's go ahead and come down this way. Alright. And add him to the ground. And go ahead and press Control S to save. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and come over here to the right. We're going to look for the play button or the run project button. Shortcut is F5. And go ahead and just press that for now. Now look at this. We haven't selected a main scene, so we need to do that real quick. You can either select one if you have a main menu already set up. If you don't, let's just use this current scene, especially if you're in my class. We haven't done menus yet, so select current scene. And now you see the player shows up there. We can move him around by pressing the left and right arrows. We can jump by pressing the space bar. Okay, he's moving around. The camera doesn't quite follow him yet. It's a static camera, but we'll fix that in the following videos. But for right now, that's all I got for you. I will see you guys in the next video, where we will create our enemy, probably a floating enemy. There's a little ghost character we're going to use in there, and we'll make it kill the player and kind of reset things. I will see you guys in the next video.